Let's talk herd.
So yeah, I wanted to ask you a bit more about, because you told us that beautiful story about how your gift of working with the children, that was your Mustang makeover. So how did that, how is that shaping, how is that affecting things, and what are you experiencing from that? And they're children at kind of just at a sort of elementary school, or what age are they? Are they different ages?
Yeah, mostly middle schoolers, which is both really hard and really beautiful, and not exactly what I would have chosen at first. If someone had told me, like, think about the age group, it's a lot easier. The littlest ones are like so easy, and I do love that age group as well. But the middle school is where the interventions typically need to happen, and that's where the programs are in place. And so we go in and bring basically bring members of the herd to the school, and it's been it's tremendously oh I don't know the right word pointer. I mean, rewarding, affirming, purpose. Maybe purpose is the meaning. It's really something that is not always easy. It's not always the thing that I would run and go do if I got to choose from everything. But it is the most meaningful thing I feel like that we offer, and it so deserves my dedication. And I'm so grateful that it has become such a cornerstone of I Am Heard. And I do love doing it. I do. It's just anything that there's a dedication piece involved that I find that some things to go out and do some things with the horses is just I just go do, and it's sometimes it's hard when you've got 20 to 30 students and they're all growing hair in weird places, and they're all feeling insecure, and they're all together doing it together, which is just so triggering, and many of them are coming from difficult family situations where they may not have as much support, and so that's hard. But bringing the horses into those spaces and just allowing them, it's one of those things that I feel like if I am in a position where I'm able to do this and I've been given this opportunity, and it really has evolved like that. I didn't really plan it. The things just kind of lined up, and it was like, well, this is what you should be doing. And it feels like if we can, then how can we not? Even if sometimes it's hard, because it is, these many times they haven't ever even seen a horse, and much less up close. And if they've heard of a horse, they've heard of some kind of scary story of the horse kicking somebody in the face. They always have they don't see a horse that brings their peace with them. Right? Just seeing a horse is not necessarily helpful, but a horse that is such an embodiment of the sanctuary that they walk onto the school property and they bring that with them to witness a being that's so large and intimidating, but yet is overflowing with peace that you cannot rock. I mean, and not every member of the herd I could take, but there's certain ones that I can, and the ones that I take, they are that way. You do not rock them. They are that steadfast pole stars of peace, and you can't help but just fall into their rhythm if you even glance their way. And that's what I see happening. I see these kids, they look at them, because how can they not look at the big horse? And it shifts something. It does. And it's definitely, I'm very grateful that it's unfolded the way that it has.
Yeah.
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 And it's become, it's a
really
program that
profound. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no, I feel like there's no credit that I can take. Like, seriously, like sometimes you say that and it's like, oh, I can't take the credit. But really, like, I just, I don't know how it was even orchestrated. I mean, I wasn't planning for it. It really, there were different people in my life that saw it as obvious before I saw it. I mean, this is what you should, they just saw it. And a dear friend of mine that I used to give lessons to her daughter, she is an administrator in the basically doing the programs that we bring our program into. And so she already knew and had a trust in me, I think, because of our relationship and how I had supported her daughter when she was growing up, and had a personal understanding of how powerful the horses are in our lives, because horses are very meaningful for her. Yeah. And so she felt like it would be meaningful for these children, and she trusted that it would be safe because I was, she trusted me, and it just unfolded in this way. And so now it's just a big part of what we do. But at the same time, I think it's very important that I still create the space for the other aspects of creativity that, like the things that I want to do with magic that I can really only do when it's she and I. I mean, I can't. Yeah. When I go to a school, I do like Rico does. Like, I very intentionally bring a quality of energy into that space. And I'm almost solid about it. Like, solid in the sense that it has to be really steadfast. And no matter what's going on outside of me, I have to remain the same. And I go in and I bring that, and then I leave. But when I'm doing stuff with the horses one-on-one, it's way more porous and flowy, and we're in a space of such freedom around us and safety, the container. And that's one thing I witness when I see things that you share is every aspect of your container, every piece, be it the round bale you're feeding and the net, the shelter, the field, the fences, the horses, the ewe, like, it all has the same taste. And I think that's one of the things that's so like soul thrilling to witness, and I feel like it's part of what the fairy dust you're playing with, because you really are operating like really with the energetic level being the playing field, and less of like letting it be the dominant, like the thing that everything is plucked away so that all that is left is the energetic. And it's so that to me that really you need that container to do that. You take that out into another kind of space, like but you've created that. That's part of, I feel like, what's your like specialty is this beautiful container to where the horses can be so safe as to be comfortable coming up and asking you to ride because they wanted to, because they feel resonance everywhere. And you're so in tune to that and naturally feel that resonance. And then as you share it through your words and visuals with others, it can let us know that stuff's real too. It's very easy to pretend it's not, when in truth it's more real than anything. I mean, the energetic layer that everything is created on. I mean, it is everything. But it's easy to pretend that, the stuff that you can see and touch and poke, is more real.
But
I kind of skipped over to that, but I just, to me, really, there's parallels in the school program.
What I love most about life, in a way, is discovering the connection between the vibration, what is energy, and then what becomes from your kind of conscious understanding of it, or you're feeling it. And that's what fascinates me about the different ways that people feel energy or experience energy, because for me, it's like a sort of baseline sense. It's not a sense that's more sophisticated than the others in a way. It's the one that comes before the others. seeing
Yeah.
and hearing. And it's almost like, because we're all changing, vibrate. I think we forget that. And on the in the
Mm.
thought level, you can just remind
Yeah.
yourself that we're all changing vibration into, what we see as solid, and things, and what we smell, and they are energy, they're vibrations. So
Mm.
and there are some
Mm.
incredible examples of that. I don't know if I can think of one right now. When you kind of realize that it's not the solid world, and then where that you go kind of back from that. It starts with energy, and we're all so able to do that. I mean, we're so able to do it that we don't even know we're doing it. And I think when you start to kind of feel back into the energy, that's when you start to, I mean, I just feel like I just get a hint. I don't feel like I'm any kind of master at that. I just get hints sometimes of the end, like how the energy. Well, I feel that quite a lot, but I don't think I'm really aware of how of the whole way that we do that just so naturally. We shift energy into things. We just kind of do it, and I don't even think it's in time. It's just kind of part of our reality, part of our being here in this reality. So anything that kind of goes back into that energetic, anything, feeling like I had I have this plant. It's an elephant ear plant, and I always wanted one. I love those plants, and a friend of mine had one, and her leaves, I always call them her, but she had like these massive leaves, and I was like, wow. And then one time she said, I've got some babies to give you. And so I had her outside, and she was doing really well and growing loads and loads of leaves and all the time. And then some of them started to look a little bit yellow, and I started to get a bit stressed, like, oh my God. And you couldn't figure out if I was giving too much water, or I think it was probably too much or not enough, or if she needed minerals or something, I don't know, or if it was just too hot. So I thought, why aren't you going in, like go in energetically? And it took a long time, because I started with the feeling of the yellow and where that came from. And that just didn't feel that receptive. And then I was just in quite a sort of deep state, and I thought about it again, and it just, I got this really strong sense, picture. I wish there were better words to describe that, but just a sort of really strong feeling of the root, of her root. And the root was just not receiving. There was something blocking about the root, and I could feel it like my root. It was unusually mirroring feeling, like this sort of, I don't know if that's getting more like that recent now, because I'm, I mean, it really kind of, our world is us. So I'm feeling that more, but I could just feel that there was something not porous and not open, and something blocking in her root. And it was just, and then when you feel that, and when you really engage with that and acknowledge that, then it starts to shift. And it just, either you don't need to feel it anymore, or you feel it. I think it was more like that than actually feeling a difference. I think there was a sense of flow. And now I just don't really feel the stress about it anymore. I just kind of know that it's going to be okay. And even if and that might, to use one of Sabina's words, that might entrain the physical changes. Like if she needs some kind of mineral, then I'll become aware of that. I'll just read some article about, how they need that mineral. And, it's like, but you have to for me, it's all on that root, that vibrational level. And it's just so powerful. And you don't kind of really need to go anywhere else. I think I'm not saying that's for everyone. That's what gives me the greatest joy, just to kind of know that, go back into that level with everything, really, that feels like it's not in alignment. And yeah, it's just, and it happens in everything when you start doing that. So I think maybe that's what creates some of that sense in things, because it starts to so everything mirrors. Like, I think if there's something in your life that's out of balance, then, like you said earlier, it's something in you, and it's all kind of acknowledgement, really, just being aware. So
it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's I could so feel that same flow of conversation through the plant and the place in the root, where there was the knot, feels energy knot. It feels the same as that, as what we were talking about earlier. Like, it feels like the same flow of letting those places just guide us to where to just gift our awareness for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that I was thinking about the way the school programs I think the reason your personal world kind of shows up is I feel like with the school programs, it's like I'm being asked to bring kind of a world into their world. And that's why but because I'm going into their world that's very different vibrationally, I have to be very intentional and almost non-porous to a degree of kind of how I bring this very, it has to have a very clear container of the horse and I are in this very clear bubble. And I can bring them into the bubble one at a time, two at a time. I can speak from the bubble, but I can't pretend that I'm just going to just be there, like with my heart, split open to merge with everything in the space, because that can be very painful and I lose my sense of self. And but I see you doing the very same thing in the way that your bubble, as here, like with our home, like the bubble is everywhere. And the bubble I see you share, it's everywhere, everywhere you look. But by doing that, there's an aspect that's really powerful for others that are witnessing that, because there is an entrainment and an awakening that this actually is truth. Like, this isn't being made up. Like, this is a lived truth. And I think that's where your writings and the podcast and like this is kind of feels to be a really powerful. I know you must be pouring so much energy into creating this in the way you have, and I know, but it feels like just a really brilliant way to do it, because it enables that bubble to be intact and yet be shared with the world in a porous way, but yet remain in alignment vibrationally. Because it's one of the beautiful things really about the internet that we have now, how we can share and we can let people in, and yet also really preserve the quality of what it is that we're growing within us. Yeah. So it's very beautiful.
It does. It feels like, it kind of feels like joining with other bubbles, joining the bubbles together. And in doing that, it's almost making a larger, an even larger space of that. That's, it is. And in terms of energy, I just have felt, I felt very supported by Source and by, it's almost like it's not really, when you just kind of let go and be a channel. So I don't really feel like it's, because I was for a long time, like years, trying to fit in what I should be doing with, like trying to, like, just my idea of what it should be. And when I was kind of a little bit able to sort of step out the way and stop figuring it out so much, that's when these ideas started to come. And it's so much easier because it just happens. And then if I ever encounter, an issue or something, I have to remind myself, go back into Source again. Just let go. It's not, you don't have the reins. It's almost like a mirror for the horses as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Really letting
Mm-hmm.
go of the reins. What is that? What happens now? Which really is, fascinating. And I don't know about that yet because we haven't got there yet. But yeah, it's home. It is. What I love is that everything mirrors everything. Every little part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm weeding this field at the moment that is just full. It was full of docks. I don't know what you call them in America. They're like those horrible, ugly brown plants, and they go brown and they have seeds, and they just, I basically wanted to weed the whole field. It's not like enormous, but every single part of doing that field has been like reflected. It's almost like the changes in the weeds and the difficulty and the conditions of it all reflects like what I'm dealing with, in life in other areas. And it's really fascinating. And, the amount that I've done is really amazing because it's just been like, at first it was incredibly, it would have been really overwhelming to worry about, my God, how are you going to do like an entire field? I mean, it's not enormous, but it's a lot of weeds. And I just thought, well, I'll just do it every day and I'm not going to think about it. And it's just been like that, so you just do the bit that you feel good about doing. And it's back to what we were talking about, that you just follow what feels good. And while I'm doing the weeds, I kind of get this excitement growing for wanting to get back to other stuff, computer and video and website. And so when that gets strong enough, I leave the weeds, and then, you just go from one thing to the next. And it's just, yeah, it's a great life. I feel really blessed to have kind of, and I think you would agree that everybody that is doing what their heart is telling them feels really blessed that they're living at this time, and that they've got the opportunity that they have, because it's kind of what we allow, isn't it? It's what we receive is what will happen for us. So yeah,
It's just,
it's really amazing.
it takes me to a place of just not even, I guess there's really no words even. It's so blessed, and to a place where you have to just surrender to the grace. Because if I try to feel like somehow I've done anything to manifest any of that, it's like it takes me to this place of weird, wonky, like then and there's guilt, and it's like, oh, and it was none of it's such grace. It's just like such grace that's beyond any kind of way of could we possibly deserve or not deserve, or because there's so many realities, and there's so many beautiful, amazing people that are so talented with such tremendous gifts to share that don't necessarily see it everywhere they open their eyes around them in their life. And I, we're certainly no more worthy than them. And at the same time, I feel like we've just been blessed with just such a heaven to be able, this playground, this heaven's playground of like horses. All I ever wanted is this tiny little house surrounded by horses. It's all I ever wanted. And it's all I ever thought about. It's all I ever dreamed about. And I would sacrifice other things and self-sabotage other things. And I remember one time I got laid off from, well, that was another thing. I did get laid off, but I quit. I quit this job. And my boss said, well, I'm not going to be able to write your recommendation letter because, you're not giving a 2 weeks notice. I quit and I left. And I thought, well, why do I want a 2 weeks notice? I'm never going to do another job like this. Like, I don't need, why do I need a recommendation? Like, I don't need you to write me a recommendation because I never want to do this again. So why would I say one of the things that triggers me more than anything, that makes me more angry than anything else is spending my energy on something that felt like I was not supposed to be spending my energy on it. It feels like I totally wasted and it just eats at me. And, So I do. I feel
Yeah.
so blessed
Oh,
and not
yeah.
worthy of
Yeah.
it, but will accept the grace of being able to live a life where I get to decide how I'm going to spend my energy every ounce of the day. And I mean, there is no greater gift.
Yeah.
There's no greater gift
So
than that. And
true.
I do not take that
Yeah.
lightly, yet it is nothing but light,
Absolutely.
of course. So,
Mm.
so it's
Yeah.
beautiful, and so beautiful for
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
to be doing this with your time, because this is really cool. I hope and I know that it will
Mm.
reach really far and wide, and lift many and inspire many to know
Yeah.
that there's others out there that feel the
Mm.
same. And you're not
Yeah.
doing it from a place of better
Absolutely.
than, or,
Yeah.
you know, although this is wrong and I'm right. You're doing it from just a place of inner truth. And it's like we can all find our own light through
Yeah.
the reflection of someone else's inner truth,
Yeah.
because it's all the same. Like it gets reflected
Yeah.
back.
It
A
kind
truth
of,
is a truth. It's like, you're right, one true
yeah.
thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. It feels like there's a real power in the energy of just coming together and, like the bubbles
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of almost creating a
Mm-hmm.
new edge, a new interaction that, things will be born and things will be
Mm-hmm.
born for other people. And yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
feels really good. Really,
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's got a momentum of its own, really. Yeah, an energy of its own. And I just feel
Mm-hmm.
kind of, part of it. No,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's me, it's us. And yeah. And I really want people to feel that too when they have to do with it. I want them to feel, everyone, that if they like the feel of it, that it's them as well. So yeah, really nice.
Yeah. I think that I'll try to say this, and then I know we probably should wrap up. I feel like it's such a double edged, because I so agree. Like I want everyone to feel that the place of that oneness, that it is them. And somehow I feel like the only true way that I can allow them to feel that is by expressing the oneness of myself through me.
Mm,
That goes back to the beginning of our conversation
absolutely.
about
Yeah.
it's okay to do what we want to do, and allowing ourselves to recognize those envy cracks as guides to, where maybe there's a knot. Maybe
Yeah.
there's some way we could give ourselves a little more time to do what it is that's in us to be done. And then somehow on an energetic
Yeah.
level, I feel like it just frees me. And from that place of freedom, there's just room. There's more
Mm,
room well, there's room, not more room. There just is room for
yeah.
me to, meet
Yeah.
others and overlap in a way where they can feel the same thing I'm feeling, because I'm actually feeling it.
Mm,
Like I'm not just saying it. I'm feeling the truth of it, like in my body,
yeah.
because I'm like living it in every aspect
Mm,
of my waking and sleeping moments. And
yeah.
that's my goal. Um, and it
Absolutely.
so yeah.
Yeah. Just when you were saying that, I had a vision that of like, well, it's almost like we're kind of pebbles that rub against each other and we're different. We have different
Mm,
textures, and when we rub against each other more, when we're more sharp against each other, it even creates more change. So it is about,
mm,
yeah, it's about, I suppose, being willing to enter into that just the, not necessarily, not the word collaboration, but just kind of acknowledgement of each other, and
mm-hmm.
seeing that not as a
Yeah.
threat, but just as an opportunity, like you say, where the contrast is gonna make us grow. It doesn't have to be that we become similar. We're just there for
Mm.
helping each other. Yeah.